Hello, everybody. Tamara and Ruth here for your weekly energy update. Today is December 14th, 2017. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Besides having hair issues today, we thought we would show up with the cards of the week and just greet you because we know we have some regulars now who like to check in. And Ruth, this is a very intense moment, I feel, because we have Saturn at the last degree of Sagittarius, poised to move into Capricorn next week. This is a really big deal. This is like completing out something from the last 3 years. We are all graduating, and yet it's also a very somber time. I mean, we have, a few days before the new moon, and I think people can probably feel these, not boulders on their shoulders, but they can feel this like, that's not a word, it's a sound.
We need to make those sounds as you did that, because, my work with sound, doing sound healing kinds of things, particularly in toning. And in fact, I'm glad you said that. Mm-hmm. We need to go around and just let ourselves make those sounds. Children know how to rebalance themselves because they make all kinds of strange sounds, as mothers can attest. What are you doing in there? What is that strange sound? But what they're doing is really rebalancing themselves. And as adults, we stop ourselves from doing just what you did with that sound. Yeah. We need to do a lot of that.
Some weeks don't even have words attached to them. It's more like a groan. I don't know. Do you think we should start with the cards that we got, and then maybe we can move those into the conversation? Usually we talk for a bit and then introduce the cards, but I'll just start with mine, and then
that sounds good. That sounds good.
I got the Queen of Discs. Now, this is an earthy queen who owns her queendom. So this is for everyone. And she's got the mountain goat there, Capricorn. This is a Capricorn card. This is a reminder, guys, that you do have a kingdom or a queendom to take care of right now. So whatever it looks like to you, keep your eyes on your own page and focus on the things that you're creating, the things that you're coming up with, the things that you've put energy and investment into, because those are going to bear fruit for you. And for those of you watching who feel like, it's kind of like your energy moves into a black hole and you're not sure if anything's landing, this is a card of manifestation. So it's a reassuring card for this week to keep moving with the things that, keep taking grounded action and be aware of it, like you have this domain that you have to take care of and you have to tend to your domain. The second card, Ruth, that I got is the Universe. And this has to do with the holistic, your totality of being. And it also, to me, has to do with that everything is coming home. Everything is going to work out. Everything is in its rightful place in your universe. The universe is like, it's almost a centrifugal force bringing everything home to where it's supposed to be. It's almost like a spaceship that's like, coming home into the gravitational pull of its planet. So again, that's kind of mirrors this idea of domain and physicality and earth and earthiness and Capricorn that we're about to move into. So feel your domain and feel the material blessings of your life at this time. Should I offer the third one, Ruth?
Well, why don't you hold on to the third one, because you told me what it is, because I think I'm using the Aboriginal Oracle card. What you just put forth in terms of your first card, and if we look at our astrology,
Mm-hmm.
I have adventure. And the reason that adventure comes up is because we have so much Sagittarius going on. We still have a retrograde Mercury Sagittarius. Today we have Mercury and Venus conjunct each other, which means that we need to have conversations with one another
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, well, how do we feel? Because Venus is about feeling. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that adventure, because it's Sagittarius, Sagittarius dearly loves to go on adventure. And that would be a way of, you're mentioning grounding ourselves. Fire needs grounding. Therefore, with Saturn coming into Capricorn, this is a perfect opportunity. Yes, do something that gets your fun genes going, but at the same time recognizing it's a way of grounding yourself. So that's adventure. And then we have a water sign with Scorpio. We got a substantial amount of Scorpio going on. And Scorpio, whether we recognize it or not, is about connectivity. It's connecting with the deeper parts of ourselves, those feelings again. And so
Mm-hmm.
we need to both be inspired by the fire energy, and we have, because we have the Sagittarius with Jupiter that says, yes, forward motion, ground it, but we need to also speak and connect with ourselves and each other about
Mm-hmm.
what we're feeling.
Yeah, I agree. I think too, it's interesting because my third card is sorrow, and this is a Three of Swords card. And this is the week before the solstice. It's before the new moon. Saturn is about to shift, and so a lot of us have done very deep work. And one of the things that statistically happens in December is a lot of, how can I put this without being blunt? A lot of people exit at this time. I have a friend who works in a nursing home, and it's a lot of people actually die around the solstice, and when they're ready to go, they're ready to go. And so we often, the holidays are a time when we feel lost and we feel that sort of melancholy feeling of remembering who was with us before. My own father died 12 days before Christmas, and so whenever Christmas rolls around, I'm aware of that. And I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people listening to this who may resonate with this. And I feel like this goes to the card that you just had, and where we were talking about connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay if you have mixed emotions at this time and during this week. It's very normal. It's very human. And I think it's important, you were mentioning expressing your feelings to others. Grab a loved one and reminisce about the person that you've lost. Reminisce about what this time of year used to be like when you had other people around you. Let the sorrow come out in words. Don't just sit with it if you don't want to.
Absolutely. And I very much resonate with what you said, because my mother left 8 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
And these, whether we can accept it or not, that is a choice also when we make our exit.
Mm-hmm.
And I wholeheartedly agree with you. Get together with other people and definitely remember, because if we divide the word up, it goes remember. Mm-hmm. And remember, if we remember with that Sagittarius feeling, because Sagittarius doesn't want us to sit and be totally just go in, because what happens when you have fire that goes in and it doesn't get expressed? I have another card. You might get a surprise.
Ooh, we got that last week.
That's right. That's right. So what I'm advocating is share with other people. And you might get wonderful surprises coming out because we don't know because it's a surprise.
I love that card. That's one of my favorites from that deck. And I think that that is sort of part of the Mercury-Venus conjunction too, is this is a great time to, you know, have a meal with someone, talk with people about how you feel about them,
Yes.
you know, and actually, or have a conversation with another person about how you feel about another person, but just start talking about how you feel, because it is a time when it's funny, I'm looking at these cards. It's almost like two different messages for this week. One
Yes.
is we're completing a 3-year process in Sagittarius. Give yourself a pat on the back. We're about to move into a totally new phase next week with the new moon and the Saturn in Capricorn. This is huge. I mean, this is a big chunk. 3 years is a long time for us. And so things will be coming into fruition and into form that you have imagined through the Sagittarius, you know, Saturn transit. We're ready for the earthy manifestation of your visions. And also, it is the holiday season, so allow your heart to speak its words, you know. And this is sort of, it really is two messages. It's almost like letting yourself have this dark moon moment, this quiet, you know, a lot of our energy is lower right now, and that's okay.
I'm really, really glad you said that, because one of the things that Scorpio brings to us, and whether we want to let go or not, it will dissolve. We have Jupiter in Scorpio.
Yeah.
And then we've got Mars in Scorpio at the moment. And that kind of energy, and actually we today we have the moon in Scorpio. I think it said that. But that energy says, let it go. And oftentimes around the holiday, you made a wonderful point, because what is really happening emotionally, we're trying to hold on to the past. And it cannot be held on to.
Well, and there's, you know, life is evolution. The other day I woke up and I thought, I was feeling my body and I was feeling the creaky feelings, and I was like, oh, I remember when I was 25 how my body felt, you know, vaguely. And then I was like, but this is how I feel now. And that's okay. Like, this is now, and this is okay. This is a different part of the journey. It's another experience. And so at every moment, we are experiencing life unfolding for us. And when we hold on to something that has crystallized in the past, sometimes we're keeping a door closed. And I just think that we really are at a door, not just because it's the calendar year ending almost, but also because of these other astrological things that we've talked about. So a lot of the pain that people are having about the politics and the way the world is changing has to do with their wish, first of all, judging it as bad and wrong, like it shouldn't be happening this way. This is bad and wrong. Everything's bad and wrong. And it should be another way, or it should be the way it used to be, or it should be something else. So,
and all of those shoulds falling on top of one another, because you just said something really very important. Saturn going into Capricorn can either help us do one of two things. Now, if we want to keep it the old way, because the Saturn can be conventional and let it stay the tradition. But Capricorn also has a component with Saturn of building something new. Scorpio is saying, take a look at the old structure, because if the old structure is not functioning, it's going to get wiped out. And then we can rebuild, because that's the Saturn in Capricorn. With Uranus going into Taurus pretty soon, we got about 3 3 months or so. And those two are going to line up together. It's anybody's guess when you put, what happens when you put Saturn and Uranus together? I'm just leaving that open-ended.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because I had a conversation with somebody the other night who is a very liberal person, and um, um, this person used to be sort of a renegade in his youth, and now the words that were coming out of his mouth were more kind of like, well, these young people now don't respect, how, and what's funny, it's almost like the person had switched roles in his own life. And a lot of us are doing that now, where when we were younger, we were on one side of the establishment, and now we're on the other side, and we want our security, and we want things the way we want them, and we don't want somebody else driving the bus, and we want. And so how can we see this as really, going back to one of the cards you drew, as a grand adventure?
Mm-hmm.
That maybe part of an adventure is you don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. That is, I call it the surprise, but I also call it the great mystery.
Yeah.
And the reason I call it the great mystery is because we don't have control over that part. Right. All we have control over is how we feel.
That is right. That is right. And there was something I brought up on my show last week that I just feel like I want to mention it again on this show, which is that we have this supportive relationship between Chiron and Jupiter and Scorpio. Mm-hmm. So we have this energy that's saying to each of us, how can we heal deeply and completely to the point of transforming our deepest self-perceived wounds. Like sometimes we have these core wounds that each of us can have that are so common, it's ubiquitous. I'm not enough. No, I'm not enough would be
right.
one, or I'm not loved. Those are the kinds of things that the Chiron and Jupiter and Scorpio, for me, in my interpretation, it's healing for people. Because you just get to the point where it's like, you've used that mantra so many years and it's just not working anymore. It needs to be cut out and dissolved, like you said. It needs to be seen differently as just something that we picked up along the way and made an assumption about.
That's a great way of putting it, Tamara, because you just stated, in some ways, this retrograde Sagittarius Mercury is saying, tell a new story, and listen. First and foremost, listen to ourselves, mm-hmm. and that's where the Sagittarius honesty comes in, mm-hmm. of saying, have I been telling this story over and over and over to this one and that one? Do I need to tell a new story? Question: do I need to tell a new story?
Well, I can say that there's every one of us who's watching this, talking about this, thinking about this, has something in our lives that may have a story that has fear around it. Mm-hmm. And those are the things. Scorpio wants to get to the bottom of fear. Scorpio is about exploring fear and the darkness. So this is a year of looking at, what are your greatest fears? What are you so scared of if you move in this direction or that direction, or in this relationship or that relationship? Or, what are you so scared of that you will stay, that you will stunt your own growth?
Right. In fact, as you said, you talk about the fear. I'm going to add another layer to it. Where can you have courage to step out of mm-hmm. the old stuff?
Yeah.
And even if you, like you say, even if you're quaking in your boots, you
Yeah.
know, it's like you're shaking all over. And I've experienced that enough in my life where I'm quaking in my boots, but I have to step forward.
Well, because there are two parts to us always speaking. There's the greater self that says,
Hmm.
you know, come forward with who you are, and then there's the conditioned self
Right.
that says, no, not me, I'm not ready, or I can't. And so we have these voices. And do we want to get to the end of our lives and say, I listened only to the conditioned self? Or did I listen to the voice of my greater being that said, you know, this is an experience for you. Life is to be experienced. You know, so many times I think we have an opportunity, and it might be in the form of a relationship or um, an event or a life path choice, and we are so consumed with, well, what if this, what if that, what if I get hurt somehow, what if I make a mistake?
Mm-hmm.
And we simply, Sagittarius says, you know, so what if you
That's right. Step out.
if you get bumped, you know,
Yeah.
so what if you get hurt? You had an experience,
An adventure.
an adventure, and that's
Yes.
part of the adventure. And I think that even though we are that's our timer. Even though we're just, well, actually, the new moon is in Sagittarius, isn't it?
Yes, it is on
So,
Sunday.
so we're still speaking the Sagittarian language, even though there's this concrete movement of Saturn into this concrete sign, Capricorn.
Right. I you know, it brought back, because before we started the broadcast, you know, I was telling you about wrestling my little piano people into form for next week, because we have to do our little concert.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still kind of laughing because each one of them was going, but what if I play this and I can't do this?
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent all of yesterday with that very idea, because what's behind that? It's the fear of I'm not enough. I actually could see it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was alive and present.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
what happens is that one person has to be the center point, say in your peer group or in your social community. Somebody has to be willing to stand up, because otherwise that fear jumps from person to person. It can become very virulent.
Yes.
And so I saw that yesterday with them. If one person gets scared, everybody else starts to contract.
Well, it's funny, as you were mentioning that, everything you were saying, you were sending me into my memories of piano recitals that I went to a school when I was a kid where you had to take like 3 instruments and you had to perform. They had coffee houses and all the parents would come and you would play.
Right.
And so you were reminding me way back then of being, 10 years old and having to perform. And that the fear you feel, and this is for our empaths, and this is for the adult empaths we have, is often the fear of many.
Yes.
So just always know, like it falls in the category of psychic smog, but it's just, it may not be yours. It feels really big.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're very psychic and you're just really feeling it, but it doesn't mean it's yours.
Absolutely.
Do something with it. It's just like, that's a lot of fear there. Just notice it, because sometimes there are books written about this, on and on about don't let the fear stop you. But it's like you said, that we psychically will feel other people's stuff around the same thing we want to do and be, stopping with that and feeling like, well, I feel too scared. That energy is never going to go away, guys.
That's right. It stays with us, but it's standing toe to toe.
Yeah.
You've probably heard, fear is false evidence appearing real. You've probably heard that many times. And it really is. But we have to keep talking to self. Remember, we've got both Sagittarius, Mercury, and Sagittarius, Venus. The first person we have to love is moi.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Love the self.
Mm-hmm.
Ruth, it's time for us to end our broadcast.
Oh, this has been wonderful.
I know this
I don't want to leave yet.
I know I don't want to leave either, and I woke up a little cranky today. So I'm not really, but you know, some moments are more exciting than others. But this was a really good talk, and thank you for talking with me. And yeah.
Well, you know, it's always a pleasure for us on our Thursdays.
It is. Well, we love our Thursdays. And also join me on the radio tomorrow, guys, because we'll be continuing this journey, this discussion.
And I'd like to put out a little blurb.
Yes.
I'm doing a course called Beyond Resolutions: Inventing the Future You Truly Desire. Mm-hmm. And if people will come over to my website, you can check it out at soulsoundinsights.teachable.com.
Well, that's going to be wonderful, and I'm very excited that you're unleashing this to the world. So I definitely recommend people go over there and check it out. And thank you all for watching. You can find the links to have a reading with each of us below, and please subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share this video and comment below. We love it when you do. And have a wonderful week and a wonderful new moon, everybody.
Absolutely. Appreciating everybody.
Bye.
See ya.